What's happening, everyone? I'm Kieran for WrestleIn.com, and I'm joined by one of the first members of Katsuyori Shibata's LA Dojo. He recently returned from injury on New Japan Strong and on Bloodsport. He's got more muscles in his neck than I do in my entire body. He's New Japan's own Coughlin. Alex Coughlin. We were just talking about it. Alex Coughlin. Alex, thanks for joining me for a drink at the end.
Oh, yeah. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Right. I know you've spoken about life in the LA Dojo plenty of times before. So just to get one quick one out of the way, what's an average day like in the LA Dojo for you?
Average day, waking up about 7 o'clock, getting a few of the daily chores around the house done, a little bit of sweeping, cleaning the kitchen, getting the rice prepared, the rice cooker for when we get back, and we all eat some chanko or just get those carbs in. Out the door around 8:30, get to the dojo, warm up, stretch about 30 minutes, and then train for about 4 hours. Do a little bit of lifting afterwards with what little energy and ATP we have left in our muscle reserves, and then come back, do a few more chores, and then study some tape and get ready for the next day of training. So it's probably exactly what you expect, just working. We're working, man.
Nothing easy, nothing a normal person would be able to cope with.
It's a grind.
Right. I've done my research. I've been reading lots of Shibata's interviews over the years since you've joined Yellow Dojo, and I wanted to get your thoughts on a few things he said about you specifically. The first one being, what did you think when he called you the world's strongest baby?
Yeah, I'm very excited for that to follow me the rest of my career. Awesome. World's strongest baby. And the context of that is not that I'm a baby, it's that before I moved out here, growing up, I wasn't like a party animal or anything like that. I didn't drink until I moved out here when I was 24. So I was always completely sober, a teetotaler, if you want to put it that way. Just chilling out, having a good time with my friends, just doing low key stuff. And then I moved out here and experienced just a different style of life where I started to try out more things and get more experiences. And that's what he meant by baby, and that I didn't have a lot of experiences that he would consider necessary for adult life. And I think that's the context that he took that in. So as long as I'm the strongest one, as long as I'm not a weak baby, I'm cool with that.
He did put it in a good context. He said it's because you don't have those experiences, that you're like a blank canvas, and he likes that about you, that he can build you up and you haven't got those bad previous experiences. He can make you what he wants to make of you.
Exactly. But I think the complimentary aspect was a little bit lost in translation. So people just kind of ran with the baby thing. Whatever. Akachan.
Another one that Shibata has said is, he said you've never been angry in your life. He was telling you to get angry in the ring, and you told him you've never been angry in your life.
That's what I'm very happy you brought up. I'll let you finish. I apologize, please.
How is that possible? And B, have you now been angry since you've been in the New Japan ring?
I've been wanting to address this for a little while. I have no idea why he said that. Of course, I've been angry before. I feel like we've all experienced the full wheel of emotions as adults. I've of course been angry before, but I think he meant, again, maybe something was a little lost in translation. I think he meant in training in the ring. He wanted that it roughly would translate to fire, his intensity, his passion, the thing that you would see specifically when you watch a Shibata style match. Just the anger, the fervor, the vitriol that you see. He wanted to bring that out in all of us. And again, to go back to the lack of experience thing, that's something I was never really, I've never really been exposed to, something I never really tried before in my limited training before the LA dojo. So I believe that's what he meant, the in-ring anger. Because of course I've been angry at stuff before. Yeah.
It did seem very strange.
Yeah.
And the last one from Shibata is, he said over the past year since the pandemic, of course, he's not been able to be in LA. He said you've been probably done more training than he has over the past year. So what's it been like kind of heading up the LA dojo in his stead and being that measuring stick?
It's a tremendous amount of responsibility, and it's also an honor that he would allow me to be the one to head the training in the meantime. And I've been giving it 110%. Every day we train the same exact way. I try not to let up on anything and keep the training to things that I've experienced with the new crop of students that we have in the DKC and with Kevin Knight. And it helps me out a lot that they're just naturals and they're good. So I'm very happy with how we've all been developing together, not just myself in the training aspect, which gives me a lot of different insight, a different side of things, which helps me improve greatly in wrestling, and also helping them come up and adapt to the LA Dojo style, which I think at this point I have a much better grasp on than when I first entered. And so far, Shibata-san has been happy with the progress, and that means the world to me. And I'm going to keep doing it until, fingers crossed, this pandemic is over and we can get back to training normal.
There you mentioned the DKC and Kevin Knight, the two newest members of the LA Dojo, and other than them, the only one has been Gabe Kidd, who's been in Japan for the majority of his time due to the pandemic again. What's it like having two new faces at the LA Dojo all the time? Because for the longest time, it was just yourself, Carl Fredericks, and Clark Connors.
It was a big difference, big change. Very strange seeing, because especially with DKC, he's a guy that we've seen on and off for a while, because he's been in the California scene. He's come through to some of the dojo camps. We've seen him at a couple of shows helping out and stuff. And for him to get a shot after all that, instead of immediately being seen and getting invited in, I think speaks a lot to his character, his tenacity, his just his persistence, which is how he earned his spot. And of course, he's been doing great. But again, Kevin is somebody we didn't know very much beforehand. I believe Clark knew him a little bit because he also started wrestling in the Northwest, around the Seattle area where Clark's from. So they had a little bit of history, but we all, thankfully, knock on wood, all of us in the dojo get along great. We all train together. We all help boost each other up. It's a very tough environment with, just how strict the day-to-day life is. But I think we're the kind of people that just love that. So we all benefit from that. And I think Shibata-san picked all of us for that reason, that we'd all just dive headfirst into this lifestyle and really enjoy it and grow from it. So it's been strange adjusting with them, like you said, because it's just been the three of us for so long, doing this, doing that, and then just having two new guys. It's actually going pretty much as well as you could think. So I'm thankful for that.
Oh, no, that's great. Like you say, it's quite exclusive. Obviously, Shibata is very picky. He has his things of, to only have you three for the longest time, Gabe Kidd, and then two new recruits in the 3 years that the LA Dojo has been open now.
Yeah, just about.
Speaks volumes to how good you have to be to meet Shibata's requirements to get into the LA Dojo. Yeah,
it's crazy because there have been people who have made it past that first initial process to where they are invited to train at the LA Dojo, but they would eventually be cut too. And it's not just that come to the camps or the tryouts or anything like that, and then you just don't make it. There are people that have made to the second step, the third step, and for one reason or other, they just don't make the final cut. And it sucks to see, but there's a reason that it's such an exclusive club. It's hard. It's very, very hard. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. But the way Shibata sees it, it's the best of the best that he wants to train from the ground up. And that's why we're here. And that's it.
It's bloody working. You can see that. I wanted to go back. I think it was only your second trip to Japan, January 2020, before the pandemic struck. And you made your debut in the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom 14. What was that experience like, doing that long run from the baseball dugouts to the ring and being inside the Tokyo Dome?
Incredible. It was absolutely incredible. My favorite fact about that match is it's the first New Japan match of the decade of the 2020s. And a few people, namely Okada-san, held that distinction for the 2010s. And it's probably my favorite memory in pro wrestling, so far. We'll see what the future holds. But it was an incredible feeling being in front of that many people in the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom. And I couldn't think of better people to share the ring with, not just on my team, but also on the other team that, we beat. So I hold that very, very dearly.
Going back to August last year, you suffered an injury that kept you sidelined for 7 months that you've only recently returned from. How good is it to finally be back in a ring after that long hiatus?
Man, that hiatus was the toughest thing I've ever been through, including the training, anything in my life. Not being able to wrestle was just a fucking pit of darkness that I had to stay in for 7 months. There was a small period where like I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to come back, period. But thankfully I was able to work through it. And just being back, I feel like, you know, I feel like a new me. I know it's so cliche to say, but you're seeing a new Alex Coughlin when you see him from this point forward. Like the gloves are off. I'm not taking anything. Not that I took it for granted before, but now I realize what a precious and fragile honor it is to be able to wrestle in a New Japan ring, because things can happen like that. So I'm going to take every moment that I can. It can end in an instant, but I'm going to take every opportunity to just give it my all and just fucking fight and show my fighting spirit that Shibata's been beating into us the past 3 years.
I think I was really clear in your New Japan Strong debut. You're returning in a New Japan ring. You and Carl Fredericks versus Clark Connors and Kevin Knight, 4 LA Dojo boys. It was just off the charts. Like, you know, in a way, it's a nothing tag match. It's opening the show. But for me, you guys were easily the match of that show. You know, the double gut wrench duplex to Kevin Knight and Clark Connors. How on earth did you pull that off?
Thank you. I had to work on my grip. That was probably the hardest part, but man, that was just pent up aggression, because I let that all out. All 7 months of me, just the despair, the anguish that I just so desperately wanted to be in the ring. I just let it all out that night. And you know, I live with all of those guys, with Carl, Kevin, and Clark. But at the end of the day, man, if we're in a match, you know, I'm not gonna hold back. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're my brother. I don't care if you're my friend. You know, if the bell rings, man, and you're on the other side, then I'm gonna bring it to you. And even with somebody that I've been in the ring with so many times before, especially in Clark and a little less so with Kevin, but I'm looking forward to scrapping with him more. I just know all their tricks, but that's the thing, they know mine too. So that's what I love, that kind of dynamic, to where we can go and it's more of a chess game than a straight up fight. But at the end of the day, it's going to turn into a fight. But yeah, with everything I tried to do, at least in that match, that was just me showing that I'm back. I have no detriments. There's nothing that I used to do that I can't do anymore. If anything, my passion, my strength have only doubled, and it's only up from here. So if you thought that was cool, then just you fucking wait till the next few matches come out.
Oh yeah, man, I can't wait for that. I wanted to speak to you about your offense because it's quite unique in that it's very neck based. Like you'll do a fall away slam and you'll bridge straight onto your neck for the pin, or you'll do a submission and you'll bridge onto your neck as well. I loved in the Young Lion Cup what you've done to Clark Connors. You had him in like a leg lock of some kind. You rolled through straight onto your neck and he tapped out instantly. It's like it's kind of the polar opposite of in New Japan. You get lots of guys that seem reckless with their neck. You know, Naito and Ibushi seemingly love landing on their neck, and a guy like Ishii doesn't even have a neck anymore.
Yep.
What made you lean towards putting such an emphasis on your neck in your wrestling matches?
You know what I would say? I'll call this a two-parter. The first, I'm going to go out of my way and say that I'm very thankful for how much I've been training my neck before and since. If my neck wasn't as strong as it was, then my injury would have been worse, and I might not be able to sit here and talk with you today. So I swear to this day by working all parts of your body out, especially in wrestling, to where there's a lot of impact on your neck. Make sure your neck is strong. It could save your life. So I continue to do that to this day. Thankfully, I'm able to. I'm back to 100%. I'm A-OK, and I will continue to do so. But initially, the first camp that I took in March of 2018, we had a few weeks set up in a row, the 5 days, Monday through Friday. The very first week, Clark was there. Out of 30 people, Clark was the one picked. And the next week, there was a different group of 30 people. I was there. And throughout the 5 days, we do all these drills, squats, push-ups, rolling in the ring, all these things. And every day we would do neck bridges. And I think that's something that nobody really expected to do, or expected that they would have to be able to do. So I was one of the very, very few people there that had experience in neck bridging, because I just always worked out my neck because I thought having a big neck would be cool. So I went in there and hit this bridge because I'm, also surprisingly flexible for kind of a big guy. And after we did the bridges, Shibata-san pulled me aside and he goes, what is your name? And I go, Alex. And he goes, Alex, good bridge. So I feel like, in a way, my bridge is kind of what opened the door, or at least opened his eyes to me and made him more focused on me, to give me that opportunity to train with him full time at the LA dojo. So I got this thing to thank for having a job right now.
Prior to the match on Strong, your first actual matches back were on Bloodsport.
Yes.
Against JR Kratos and Royce Isaacs.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like? Because obviously it's so different from your average wrestling show. You've got no ropes. It's got a very MMA style base. Like, it's more MMA based than your average wrestling match. What was that experience like as a whole?
It was very strange on one hand, but very familiar on the other, if that makes sense. When training in the LA dojo, we're used to being in a big, cold, empty room with nobody else around, just fighting each other for hours on end. So that part, it was like I was right at home. But the barbed wire entryway, the fire, the no ropes, that was a little new, but that was pretty cool. I like, the more you take away from the things we're allowed to do, the more focused and I feel like better I get to be, where it's like, all right, I'm not running, I'm not doing anything, I'm not hitting the ropes. I'm just gonna wrestle. I'm just gonna fucking scrap. And it gives me less to worry about. And we've been training amateur style. Shibata-san, of course, as many people know, had a professional mixed martial arts career over in Japan for a few years. And he's very adamant about showing us some of his techniques through training. The first 4 or 5 months that we were here training, we didn't really do any, I guess what you'd call pro wrestling stuff. We would all just shoot doubles, single legs, go behinds, right from the back, referee's position, stuff like that, just practicing until we knew what it was like and how we had a decent grasp on it. And throughout the years, I was able to connect with Josh Barnett and do a little bit of extra training on the side with him too. So I was very excited for a way to show out that kind of side of wrestling, because I'm able to do that here and there in certain scenarios in New Japan or other promotions. But with Bloodsport, that's the nitty gritty of it. That's what they're all about. And I'm excited about that. And hopefully I get an opportunity to do that again. But, if not, I'll just keep kicking ass in New Japan.
You touched on it there. I was going to ask, how did you get involved in Bloodsport? I know Shibata said that when you was in Japan, you went out of your way to go and train with Josh Barnett. So I imagine you got into it through Josh Barnett.
That's exactly what happened. The first time Clark and Carl went over to Japan, I wasn't able to go because I had just gotten over a relatively severe illness, and they wanted to wait for me to be back at 100% before I go back and tour Japan the first time. So they were there for 5 or 6 weeks. So I was just sitting here. I had nothing to do for 5 or 6 weeks. Am I just going to wait and chill out and watch TV? No, I asked Rocky if he knew of any jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts places I could train at in the meantime, so I could get better and continue to improve. And he put me in contact with Mr. Barnett, and he was very, very kind enough to let me come in and train with him and his fight team. And that kind of became a long-standing thing, where it wasn't just those 5 weeks that they were gone, but whenever I get an opportunity, whenever Shibata-san might be in Japan and I have an opportunity to go and train with them, then I do. And I'm very grateful for that, because I think it, beyond what I normally do, it also helps separate me even further. Because, as a young lion, we all do the same basic things. We all wear the same thing. We all run to the ring. We all have the same theme song. We all do body slams, drop kicks, Boston crabs. But I'm able to separate myself even further, utilizing that kind of style and mixing it all together. So that's what I'm trying to gear for now.
You touched on it there that you missed the G1 tour that Carl and Clark went on, and then you were over for the Young Lion Cup and then for the Wrestle Kingdom. So you've only had the 2 Japan trips, which means you haven't had as much luck to be in the ring with New Japan main roster members as perhaps Carl and Clark did, and obviously the Noge Dojo. So to that extent, is there any members of the New Japan roster in particular that you are eager to get in the ring with one day?
Oh man, there's a tremendous list, but I would absolutely love to wrestle Takagi-san, Suzuki-san. I think basically anybody on the roster. Kanemaru-san, I think, is severely underrated. I would love to wrestle him. But at this point, anybody that wants to fight me, I'm happy. Like you said, I've had much less experience going to Japan and wrestling any of those guys. So whoever wants to scrap, I'm down. Anybody, anytime, anywhere. Even the people on the American side. GOD, if they're around. Chase Owens. If Kenta-san wants to come back, he fought Carl. I'm next. Where you at?
You've got my wheels spinning now about you versus Shingo Takagi, man. That's dream match stuff right there that I hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, man, I would love that. Absolutely love that.
Changing gears ever so slightly. So as fans, obviously, I know New Japan's very secretive. They don't reveal the curtain. But as fans, we like to hear, little funny tidbits from backstage, whether it's in the ring or on travel or anything, whether it's a rib. Do you have a funny story or an anecdote you can safely share with me?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's my first trip over in Japan. We were there for about 3 weeks for the Young Lions Cup tour, and we would tour around. And after one show, I forget where it was, we packed up our bags and we left. And then at the hotel, I went to wash my gear. I only had 2 pairs of those black trunks, and I have my 1 pair of boots, and that's it. And I couldn't find my trunks. I was like, how the fuck do I lose the one thing that I'm supposed to keep? I have black trunks and black boots. That's it. Where is it? So I'm freaking out. Like, okay, if I take the train here, I could make it to Shinjuku, and I could find some sort of gear maker. I'm sure they'll have a black Speedo that I can use or something if they don't already have wrestling trunks. And then Carl texts me, he goes, oh, I have an extra pair of trunks. Did I accidentally grab yours too? And I go, oh, thank God. So he just grabbed my stinky, sweaty trunks after I changed out of them and started seconding and threw them in his bag by accident. So after that point, I started changing a little bit further away from Carl and Clark so we didn't get mixed up. And on that same tour, I thought I lost my passport, which is a slightly bigger deal than losing my trunks. I tore all my stuff apart, my wallet, my suitcase, my bag, everything, my fanny pack, and I couldn't find it. I called the consulate and I was like, okay, here I am. If I have to go to America, when can I set up a meeting in between these days so I can come to you and make it so I can go back to my home country without a passport? And it was a whole long thing. I called the hotel that we were at the previous night and the night before to see if they found anything, and they didn't. And it turns out I forgot that when we first landed in Japan, somebody from the office side of New Japan met us and then held on to all of our passports for us for safekeeping, and was going to give them back to us when we were flying out. So I'm good at not actually losing things in Japan, but freaking out over it. So.
Yeah, you can understand now why they decided to keep a passport for you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna staple that thing to my body if I ever have to hold on to it myself, just so I don't lose it.
So obviously the wrestling scene is pretty wild at the moment, with all this Forbidden Door stuff. You've got Finn Juice on Impact, and Kenta showed up on AEW, Moxley back in the New Japan ring. What do you think of that whole thing in general, the Forbidden Door, all these different companies working together? Are you for it? Is there any particular places you'd like to go or wrestlers you'd like to face? Or
Absolutely, I'm 100% for it. It's better for the business and more money for everybody, so it's always 2 thumbs way up in my book. The more eyes on everybody's product. As far as people in particular, I'm not really sure. I mean, we've already had with New Japan, we've had a good working relationship with a handful of companies. Like we did tours with Ring of Honor, and we'd have the Fantastic Mania shows and work with all those luchadors and stuff. So we already had a pretty wide grasp. We work with Rev Pro whenever we're across seas or bringing some of their guys. So we're no strangers to working with outside companies. So, but if we can expand on that to maybe some more American companies, I think that would be cool. Like you mentioned, AEW, Kent Hassan worked there. If we can do some more talent exchanges, then I'm for it. Anything. If they send us over there to mess people up, either on Dark, the equivalent, maybe, students for students, their young lions versus us, or anybody comes through here for either strong tapings or they could send people to Japan, just whoever, whenever. I'm not picky about the opponents.
Okay, now it's time for the serious questions. So I hope you're ready.
Give
It's
me a
not
second. All right, I think I'm ready.
it's not on full show at the moment, but since your return, you've been rocking a truly magnificent mustache.
Thank you.
How are you maintaining that?
I don't do anything in particular. I do want to start doing my research onto oils and waxes and stuff to really bring it to that next level. It started to when maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'd go through phases where I just shave everything off and then let it grow out for a month or two and then just shave it off just to see if I liked anything. I was very in between looks. I wasn't set on anything. And when I would shave it off this one time, I would shave it down at different styles, smaller and smaller to see if I liked any of them. And one day I shaved everything off except for the mustache. I was like, wow, I think I'm onto something here. So I kind of kept it in my back pocket. I didn't use the mustache for any of the New Japan shows or anything coming up. But what better time to bring it out than my grand return to the ring? And I think I'm going to stick with it. It's a little divisive. I see some people really want me to shave, but hey, man, it's my face. I'm going to do with it what I want. I like the mustache. It's staying.
Ah,
Keeps my
it's
lip
awesome.
warm.
It's awesome. Mine, I've been trying. Mine just doesn't grow healthily. It turns just scrawny. And if I
Not
get
a
rid of
bad
the
mustache. Yeah.
if I get rid of the stubble, the girlfriend's like, no, I can't just have a mustache.
That's what I want to play with the stubble, but it doesn't grow in thick around the cheeks for me, and I can't connect the mustache
Oh,
to
yeah.
the beard. I can't do a goatee. So sorry, Mike Piazza, but just can't do it.
All right. I know you like your video games.
Of course.
Uh, I'm pretty sure you're a fan of fighting games, one-on-one fighters and that. So
Mhm.
what have you been playing recently?
As far as video games go, I've usually been a pretty strict Nintendo guy, but growing up, I dabble in other things, playing with the brothers. Fighting games, I always rock Smash Brothers, but some of my literal oldest memories growing up were playing Mortal Kombat. I'm all about Mortal Kombat, and I'm very happy to see that it's a surprisingly big thing in the wrestling community. Just a lot of people love Mortal Kombat, and I think that's pretty tight. I love that. Like I would be maybe 2 years old, and my dad had a Super Nintendo, and my mom bought just a bunch of these games for him. Mario, Donkey Kong Country, the Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals, but he had Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. And those games are horribly violent, but I think my dad realized, like, he's not gonna throw a razor brimmed hat at his brother. He doesn't have access to that. So he wasn't worried about that. So he would let us watch and even play, but I didn't have any good motor functions yet. So he would hand me an unplugged controller and then just beat the game sitting behind me. And of course I had no idea. I'm a dumb baby. So I thought I was just awesome with Cabal and Kung Lao beating Mortal Kombat 3 like I was a prodigy. And that's one of the earliest memories that I have. So I'm always rocking Mortal Kombat, but video games in general, Zelda, Mario, Pokemon, Smash Bros, Banjo Kazooie, if it ever comes back. But yeah, that's the meat and potatoes of it.
What do you think of the Mortal Kombat film, the trailer that's been shown for it so far? Are you a fan?
I heard about it a while ago. There's been rumblings of a new Mortal Kombat movie ever since the second one came out in 1997. I remember in like 2006 they were going to have one, but that got scrapped. So I'm just happy they're finally making it. And I heard about it beforehand. I didn't read the full on leaks of the script, but people were saying, "Oh, dear, it's a Mortal Kombat movie, but there's an original character as the lead." So I kind of wrote it off. But then I saw the trailer, and you know what? It looks pretty dope. I'm excited for it. I will definitely be watching that day one on HBO Max.
So if you were building your own stable, your own LA dojo of video game characters, who do you want in your group?
That's a great question. Playing all the games, Jax always has a good wrestling base. He's always picking dudes up and throwing them around. I really want Jax on my team. I think they'll allow the metal arms if they're just grafted to his body. Hmm. All of fighting games. That's a tough one. I'm just going to pick a bunch of Mortal Kombat characters. I think Motaro would be great because how are you going to take down a centaur? And plus, he can shoot lasers out of his tail. He can keep you away, and if you get in close, he'll just pick you up and punch you. All the boss characters would be a pretty good pick. That's a good one. We could circle back to that one later as I try to stew on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I've only got maybe two more questions, I think. So not too long to stew.
Gotcha.
First one, what is your least favorite move to take? Like what move when you get hit by it just absolutely sucks? I know they all suck, but sucks even more.
I've experienced some moves where they're hit or miss, where sometimes, they'll always hurt.
Yeah.
But sometimes they just hit it a specific way and it'll just kill me. Like there is a couple times, I'll say 2 times in particular. One of my earliest matches with New Japan, it was on a Ring of Honor tour. We were doing the Global Wars tour, and it was me and Carl against Juice and Finley. And Juice hit me just with a regular jumping senton. You see him do it a million times, and that just knocked the fucking wind out of me. I don't know what I guess I have to sit up or something. I guess I have to defend that one better. I'll have to workshop that one, but that one is memorable. And also the last tour that we did, which I believe was February 2020. It might have been the New Beginnings tour.
Yeah, New Beginnings,
yeah. Yeah. Basically, all of those nights I worked with either Nagata-san, Kojima-san, or against both of them. And a lot of the times Kojima-san would give me a diving elbow drop off the top. And he's a big dude. He's a big man. Big chest, big back, big arm, and all those things just landing on top of you. It's never a fun time. That's a real move right there. That'll knock you out.
All that bread he's eating, making him so big.
All those goddamn carbs, man. Great bread club. I see the power of bread now.
All right, man. One final question, and we ask this to everybody. So we are Wrestle Inn, INN, like a pub. So if you had a table at Wrestle Inn, what meal are you eating? What drink are you drinking? And what 2 wrestlers are you bringing along for company?
Ooh. You can't go wrong with regular bar food. Just keep the wings coming. I love wings, but not too spicy. I can't handle too spicy. I'll go barbecue and mild. Just keep them coming. My drinking. Since I moved out here to the West Coast of America, 805 has been I didn't drink beforehand, so I don't know the East Coast beers, but I like 805. Some people know what I'm talking about. But LA Dojo, typically the drink of choice will be Bud Light. So either or, depends on who's with me. So we'll just stick with the 805 for now. And as far as 2 drinking buddies, Clark and Carl. Always a good time drinking with those guys. I know that's a boring answer, but those 2 guys.
That's understandable, man. Amazing. All right, let me shut shop. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex Coughlin93 and on Instagram at something deadlift. You can follow Wrestle Inn on Twitter at Wrestle Inn, INN. Alex, thanks so much for being generous with your time and for coming and joining me.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having me on, Kieran. I had a great time.
That wraps up another drink at the inn. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.